of our Face Up to Cancer campaign, we're joined in the studio by a young man who was diagnosed at the age of just 19. Craig Lindsay, you're very, very welcome to Daytime on Downtown. Also in the studio we have Miriam McCarthy, who is a consultant in the Public Health Agency in public health medicine. Very good morning to you, Miriam. If I can just start with yourself, Craig. 19 years of age and you were diagnosed with testicular cancer. We heard a little bit of your story on the news earlier on, but tell us first of all, how did you even find out?
Yeah, I was just, lying in bed, so it was late night one night and just felt a pain. It's kind of like a sharp pain at first, so it was in my left testicle, and thought that's not right, so just checked, felt a bit of a lump. Didn't really think much of it. I thought, it could be something, but I thought, it's your body, you get aching pains, that's the norm. So I left it a few days, and then the pain was still there and the lump was still there, so I thought, right, I'm going to have to say something. So I had to awkwardly say to my mum and dad, and they thought, right, well, we'll go get it checked out then for your own peace of mind. But they were convinced it wasn't anything, but it's because you don't expect it.
Yeah, because you're sort of thinking, it's just, maybe it's a bit of an infection, maybe it's kidney infection, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's just a wee bit of a cyst or whatever. And it's the other thing, Craig, it is one of those embarrassing conversations, which it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't. If you feel something anywhere, but you should definitely say. But I think because it was testicular, that it's a bit of a private area. So, and especially talking to your parents about it, it's a bit more nerve-wracking to say to them. It's probably one of the ones you try and keep to yourself, which is something I'm trying to say don't, because if you leave it, then the worse it gets. You need to speak up about it if you feel anything.
So you headed off to the doctor,
yes.
and
went to the doctor. First I thought it might have been testicular torsion, but then went.
Now what's that? What's testicular torsion?
That's whenever testicle will wrap around the other one.
Right. Okay.
So it needs to be dealt with quite quickly. So I was sent off to the hospital. So it was, and they checked and they said, I don't think it's this. Think it's just an infection. On scans they said it's just an infection. So came home, but then I thought, I think it's something more sinister or something. So said my mum and dad again, and they said, look, the doctor said this, but if you want to, you can go privately for your own peace of mind. So that's when I went privately in January then. So I did.
Right. So how long from you felt that pain to when you actually got a diagnosis?
I felt the pain towards the end of November, and I got diagnosed at the start of March.
Right,
so
okay.
it was
So that was a lot. It was quite a time, and again, as you say, you went privately because you wanted a second opinion, really.
Yeah, I went privately in January, and again they thought it was just an infection, and I was given antibiotics, and the doctor, he was a great doctor now in saying that, but felt around then eventually said to me in March, look, I think we need to talk about tumours, and that's when I thought, yeah, okay.
And what was going through your head at 19 years of age when they said to you, we need to talk about a tumour?
I think at first it didn't really hit me. I was just like, okay, it's something so big, you don't just take it in one go. But my mum and dad were in the waiting room, and he called my mum and dad in, and my mum and dad both said, like, they knew from whenever he called them in, they knew it was going to be something more serious. So I think because they were older, they understood it more, so they hit them harder. But for me, it didn't hit me until even recently, because when you're in the moment, you don't think about it, you're just in it, and then afterwards you look back and go, what have I been through? And no, but
and you have been through. You've been through surgery. You've been through chemo. Yeah. And how are you now?
I'm much better now. Yeah, all good. Just celebrated a year in remission there last month, and trying to get back on my feet. So there's a personal trainer. He works with the City Hospital. Great guy, Will Moore, and he works with cancer patients. So he does try and get you back on your feet, and basically just tailors the fitness regime to your needs, so you're not being pushed too hard, and he's great trying to get me back on my feet. So he is, because my energy levels are still low, but the best way to get them up is just through exercise.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant of you to come into the studio and talk about this, Craig, because testicular cancer, I think, was associated with older people, and it can hit anybody, and it's extremely important that you get a diagnosis and you get it dealt with as quickly as possible, because it is one of those ones that you can have a normal life after you've had testicular cancer, and you're proof of that. What are you doing with yourself then?
Well, now I'm working in St Joseph's Primary in the kitchen, but probably got to soon leave that, finish my studies in Belfast Met, so we'll finish my A-levels and then hopefully get into university next year. So all my friends are in uni, so it's time to get there.
And I'm sure, when your friends found out, how did you tell them? Because I'm sure that was tough as
Yeah,
well.
it was. Rang them up and said, like, you know, it is, because I voiced some concerns to them. I think it's this, and they're going, no, you'll be fine. And when I got the diagnosis, rang them and said, it is this, and they're kind of, I couldn't believe it. Oh, I'm really sorry. But all my friends were fantastic. Even people I hadn't really talked to that much were messaging me on Facebook and coming around to see me and stuff. You know, it was fantastic. You know, support I had.
Now, have you met other people that have been affected by testicular cancer since you've been diagnosed?
Yeah, not until recently. I was over in Scotland there with the Ellen MacArthur Cancer Trust, so I was doing a sailing trip over in Largs, and it was with about 15 other cancer patients around the same age as me, and in there, including myself, there's 4 of us who suffered testicular cancer. So it was great to have someone to talk to, you know, like, who would understand what I've been through more, you know.
And I'm going to ask you maybe a personal question, but out of the 4 of you then, how many of you actually discovered a lump? Because testicular cancer is one of those ones that doesn't necessarily have those sort of symptoms. It was maybe easier, even though it was a lengthy time between you getting diagnosed, but you did feel a lump and you went, oh, actually, there's something wrong here.
I think out of the 4 of us, I think there was 3 of us that had felt a lump, and 2, including myself, that felt pain. I think there was 2 of the guys who hadn't felt pain with it before, and for me that was something that was kind of shocked me, because I had excruciating pain with mine, and that's what first brought me to it. And I'm thinking, if I didn't feel that pain, I don't know how long it would have went without me realising. So although it was terrible to feel the pain, I'm quite glad to have it, because that's what brought my attention to it. So,
you know, and I know probably as a result of that, your friends have maybe been a wee bit more, I suppose, interested in checking themselves. And I know we can have the old schoolboy humour, yeah, I check them all the time, yeah, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with mine, yeah. But you know, it is important to check them now. And if we can just bring in Miriam McCarthy from the Public Health Agency. Miriam, it is important that you check.
It is, and can I say firstly, it's really interesting to hear Craig's experience, and really helpful to hear that. And I think a lot of people can learn from that. And there are a couple of key messages. Firstly, taking action when you discover something that's unusual, going to your GP and getting things looked at. And often it will be nothing, but if it is something, as Craig found, then it's much better picked up and treated effectively.
But Miriam, there was Craig, and he did have pain and he did have discomfort, and yet, you know, it's a bit like, you know, we've been used to checking our breasts and looking for the signs of breast cancer, and if you notice anything unusual in that. So what should you be looking out for? And if you're just, you know, do it as sort of, you know, the same as you head to the bathroom in the morning, have a check. What should you be checking for?
Well, I suppose there are a number of key things, and just generally, not specifically on testicular cancer, generally unusual lumps or bumps are really important. Often lumps and bumps will not be painful, and cancerous lumps and bumps will not be painful. But if you do notice a lump that is unusual for you, that is something worth getting checked out. Skin lesions that look different, if you have a mole that starts to bleed or enlarge or look crusted, is worth getting checked out. Breast lumps, people tend to know about that if they discover a lump in their breast, they should go and get it sorted. But also if women notice changes in the skin around their breast, or dimpling or other unusual features, that's a key message. So there is something about being aware, and most of us are aware of what's kind of normal for us or unusual.
So men listening today, and we'll target the men today because it's about testicular cancer. What should they do today? What can they do to check and just go, actually, maybe that's not quite right?
Okay, well, a couple of things about testicular cancer. Firstly, it's not very common. It's probably 60 or 70 cases a year. So compared to other cancers where there might be well over 1,000, it's not that common. But it does happen, and as Craig is a very good example, it happens in young people. Young people who feel they're not at risk of any cancer, therefore are much more busy about getting on with their lives than they are about checking for lumps and bumps. But young people do notice if there's something unusual, and a lump in the testicle will often be noticed as something that feels strange or unusual. Key message is to be aware of your own body, and if you do notice lumps, do go to your doctor. And it's something really important here. You said you felt a little bit embarrassed. All of us feel a bit embarrassed talking about personal things. Your GP will not be embarrassed. Your GP is used to hearing just about everything, and your GP would much prefer to see you, to examine you, to do a few tests, rather than have you at home with perhaps a cancer that's growing and not being treated. So don't worry, your GP does want to see you. If it turns out to be nothing, we're all relieved at that, and your GP will be relieved. So there is that message: unusual lumps and bumps, do seek advice.
Indeed. We do have to leave it there. Craig Lindsay, thanks ever so much for coming in, and good luck with the studies in September. Wonder will the dinner ladies be glad to see the back of you? What do you think? Or are you going back for a wee stint in September?
Yeah, I'm going back for a wee bit,
Let's
so.
give them a shout out wherever they are.
It's my mum, Hazel, Alison, there's another guy called Jay, and yeah, I think that's it.
And what school is it?
St. Joseph Primary School.
St. Joseph's Primary School. Okay, so you'll be fine in September, folks. If you're heading to St. Joseph's in September, don't worry, Craig will be gone by then, and it'll all be back to normal. Craig, thanks ever so much for coming in and telling us your story, and Mary McCarthy from the Public Health Agency. And of course, if you want to get more information on Craig's story or any information on cancer diagnoses and obviously the importance of early diagnosis, you can find that on our Downtown Radio website on our Face Up to Cancer campaign page. Thanks ever so much for joining us.